Hello everyone, I'm Travis.
And I'm Nicole.
And let's get Wanderlost. In some of our previous videos, we've discussed our upcoming trip to Rome to go on a Greek Isle cruise. And in today's video, we're going to talk about all the planning that went into that trip that's coming up in less than a week. So we're going to break this video down into a couple different parts. To start off, we're going to talk about the actual cruise, how we booked it, and what exactly we're going to be doing on it. And then the second part, we'll talk about our trip to Rome and what we'll be doing in Rome while we're there for the 2 days before the cruise and the 2 days after. Alright, so we are doing a Greek Isle cruise out of Rome on Odyssey of the Seas the first week of June. We booked a Greek Isle cruise because Nicole had always wanted to go to Greece because of all the photos she saw of the little white churches with the blue roofs. We also had some friends that we're actually going with from the state of Florida that were also considering a Greek Isle cruise, so we just decided to book it.
So in order to book this cruise, we used our next cruise that we still had from our Wonder of the Seas cruise that we had taken last April. We decided that we would book this Greek Isles itinerary, so we called Royal Caribbean and put that deposit towards this trip.
We put down a $200 deposit when we were on Wonder of the Seas to reserve the next cruise promo. So when we called Royal Caribbean to actually book our Greek Isle cruise, we got the same promos that would have been available to us on Wonder of the Seas if we would have booked that cruise when we were on the ship. When we were on Wonder of the Seas, we didn't know exactly what cruise we wanted to do next, but we still put down a $200 next cruise deposit. We were able to actually book our next cruise when we got home and keep the next cruise promo. We spoke to our friends that live in Florida and they were deciding on a Greek Isle cruise and we decided to join them. We selected a Greek Isle cruise that actually goes to Santorini, Greece, Mykonos, Greece, Ephesus, Turkey, and Naples, Italy, and it sails out of Rome. We selected a junior suite aboard Odyssey of the Seas, and it's actually an aft-facing junior suite. We really love watching the wake, and on any of our Oasis-class ships, we spend a lot of time on the jogging track at the back of the ship just enjoying the view. So we figured we would select a aft-facing suite on this ship just so we could have that at all times. This will be the first time that we've ever actually sailed with a junior suite aboard Royal Caribbean, and we're really excited to kind of get on board and see how it's like. We really want to try Coastal Kitchen for dinner and some of the other benefits for the suite class. With our next cruise promo, we actually spent about $4,500 on this cruise, and we booked last April, in April of 2022. If you were to try to book the same exact room as us over the next several months, it would be over $6,000 to $8,000. So if you've heard some of our tips for booking your Royal Caribbean cruise and saving money, booking early definitely helped. As much as we love the room that we picked out on this cruise, we've also used the Royal Up program to bid on some Star Class loft suites at the back of the ship as well. We have not yet found out if we've won our Royal Up bids. We didn't bid a whole lot, so we probably won't, but if we do, it'll probably be amazing.
For this cruise, we decided to book our usual drink packages. So the soda and Wi-Fi package for Travis, because that's really all he drinks is Coke. And then I get the refreshment package. We're not big drinkers, so as long as I can get my iced lattes and Red Bull, I am happy.
On this cruise, we did not book any dining packages. We possibly will eat at like Izumi and maybe another restaurant like Playmakers, but there wasn't enough of the variety of restaurants aboard a Quantum class ship, and we decided not to spend the $250 per person on the dining package. But we did do the bid for the Star Class suites, and if you get one of those, it includes the dining package, so hopefully that happens and we can try a few more restaurants.
We selected Odyssey of the Seas because it's one of the newer ships, and that's kind of one of our goals, is to go on every Royal Caribbean ship. But of course, the newer ones are always our priority, and we're really looking forward to it. We went on Ovation of the Seas for Alaska, and it was a really enjoyable time. When we went on Ovation of the Seas, it was during the restart right after the pandemic, so not everything was open. It was very limited capacity. There weren't all of the shows that there usually are, so we're looking forward to getting back on a Quantum class ship, but being able to see and do everything that's available this time. We're especially looking forward to the Effectors show. We got a little preview of Effectors 2 on Wonder, and we're pretty excited about that one.
We've mentioned on a few of our other videos that we don't usually book excursions unless it's a really special or a really big trip. As an example, our Alaska trip, we did a few of them. But if we are in the Caribbean, we decide just to kind of go with the flow and see what we can find out on our own. But since this is a major trip going all the way to Europe and doing the Greek Isles, we decided to do a couple of our excursions that we've wanted to do. The very first excursion that we booked for this trip was to the ancient city of Pompeii. Pompeii is somewhere that I've always wanted to go since I first heard about it in elementary school classes and history classes and that sort of thing. So as soon as I found out that we were going to Naples, and Naples had plenty of Pompeii excursions, we decided to do that. We booked this excursion through Royal Caribbean's website on the actual itinerary for our cruise. And it should be an all-day event where we actually get to explore the ancient city and the ruins. The second excursion that we booked for this trip, also booked through the Royal Caribbean website, was to the ancient city of Ephesus. Again, this is another one of the Greek ancient cities, which we're really interested in. We love history. Our friends from Florida actually picked this itinerary or this excursion, so we're really excited to check it out and kind of see what it's about. The third excursion that we booked was actually one of the more tougher things that we actually had to book on this trip. When we booked this Greek Isle cruise, Nicole really wanted to go to Santorini and see the little white churches with the blue roofs. We were not aware initially that the city of Ia, where these little churches are, was pretty far away from the port that Royal Caribbean uses on the island of Santorini. So we figured we would just grab an excursion for like a shuttle, transfer over to the city of Ia, and we would be fine. By the time we decided to actually book that, every excursion on the Royal Caribbean website was sold out. So we actually had to do a bunch of searching through websites and apps and calling around, and we eventually used the Shipmates app, and they used the Shore Excursions group, and we found a Santorini excursion that actually goes to the city of Ia. It goes to a few other locations and beaches on the island of Santorini, and it's a small group excursion, so it's only going to be us, the other couple, and maybe a couple other people. But it should be a lot of fun. Again, we use the Shipmates app and the Shore Excursions group to book that. So that's a lot about the cruise that we're going on. Let's talk about how we're getting to Rome. If you didn't know, we are actually based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area currently, and that's pretty far away from Italy. And we have never actually done a cruise outside of the United States. We've left from Seattle, Florida, Texas, but never internationally. So obviously we're going to have to fly to Rome, and we've actually never been to Europe. So we actually had to do a lot of planning around the flights, the hotels, the transportation, and some of the stuff that we're doing there. And this is all new to us, and we decided not to use a travel agent.
So when we were looking for flights to Rome, I used quite a few different websites in order to try to find the cheapest price because flying internationally is expensive. I used Google Flights, an app called Hopper. I even gave, if you've heard of Kara and Nate, their FareDrop app a try to see how that would work out for us. Really what I started to do was I chose some of the major airports that I knew flew internationally. So, Miami, New York, DFW, LAX, all of those, and just started searching those flights from those major airports to Rome to see what the cheapest airlines and cheapest routes were. I was actually able to find one from Newark, New Jersey, and it goes back into JFK. That was the cheapest option we could find on Scandinavian Airlines. I feel like it was actually a really good deal. It was about $650 per person for a premium economy seat on Scandinavian Airlines from Newark to Rome and then Rome to JFK. Yeah, and we were looking at some flights that were thousands for just economy class seats. So we've never flown Scandinavian Airlines before. It'll be a first. Hopefully it's great.
If it's not, it's all Nicole's fault.
That's why I never book anything, because if it's not great, then it's my fault. FareDrop was a really great app. I would recommend it if you are very flexible with your travel plans. Maybe you're not sure where you'd like to go, so you're just looking for some great deals and you're very open to your destination. Obviously, since we're cruising out of Rome, unfortunately, we're not very open, so it didn't work out for us this time, but we'll keep it in mind for the future. Hopper was a really great app though, because you're able to set all the options that you have for different airports that you're willing to travel from in order to get to your destination, as well as set alerts, and they can tell you when they think that this fare may go up or go down. So I was able to use that. That's where I actually found the Scandinavian Airlines flight, and then we booked it directly through the airline's website.
So obviously we have to get from DFW to Newark. So we had to book a separate flight and a separate itinerary. Hopefully it doesn't go wrong. But we did book through American Airlines, and I used the Chase Travel website because we have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card and we had enough points, and basically got that flight for free. So we're going to leave early in the morning on our flight out, land in Newark around noon, and have a lot of waiting around until our flight takes off to Europe. Hopefully it all goes well and there's not a lot of delays, but we did get that flight for free, so I guess that's okay. So now that we're in Rome, or we're going to be in Rome, we needed to figure out where we would stay. And obviously, if you've looked internationally, a lot of the same hotel brands that are in the United States are not in some of the touristy areas of a major city like Rome. So we had to kind of do a lot of research using websites like Booking.com, Expedia, Chase's travel website, and other review sites to kind of figure out where we wanted to stay. Initially, we decided to stay for the first 2 days before our cruise. We're going to stay near like the ancient city of Rome, so by the Colosseum, in between the Trevi Fountain, just to kind of make sure that we're next to everything so we can walk around without actually, having to take public transportation or taxis. We booked a hotel called the Hive Hotel, and it has very high reviews on the Booking website. One of the main reasons I booked this hotel was on Booking.com. You have the option to ask questions of the hotel that you're booking, and they are going to pick us up from the airport, which is Leonardo da Vinci Airport, and take us to the hotel for one flat rate rather than having to book our own separate transportation. This hotel will also allow us to book through them the transportation to the cruise port on the other end of Rome. So that was one of the major reasons we booked this hotel. It's about $500 for 2 nights, which is, I guess, okay comparatively to a lot of touristy areas in the world. Hopefully it's a good one. It looks very modern with a lot of amenities, and it's near a lot of stuff, which makes it a perfect hotel for a trip like we're taking. So after we get off the cruise, we actually have 2 more days in Rome, and we needed to book a separate hotel. For these 2 days, we actually booked a hotel near Vatican City on the other end of the ancient city. We booked Boutique Hotel Antelier 800. It's a very weird name, but if you actually look at the hotel on Booking.com, it has a ton of amenities, including a balcony in every single room, so it should be really cool. Again, I used Booking.com to book this, and I was able to ask questions of the actual hotel beforehand. They are going to pick us up from the cruise port and take us to the airport after our stay is over. Obviously, we do have to pay additional for that, but we are bringing enough euros in order to do that. So again, really nice hotel. Hopefully it'll be in a nice area next to the Vatican, and it should be a great time.
So once we get to Rome, there are a couple must-dos on our list that we can't miss while we're there. I was doing a little bit of research and saw that you can book a lot of your tickets and things like that online to save time and cut down on the waits, because I know we're going during the summer. It's a very popular touristy time, and sometimes those waits can be 1 to 2, maybe even 3 hours if you're looking to purchase tickets at, say, the Colosseum or the Vatican, and you're just gonna pay for them there at the gate. So I said, hey, let's take a look, see if we can't book some of these online. Funny story, you should definitely do that much more in advance than just a month. I thought I was really getting kind of ahead of things. Nope, they were all booked. So we, instead of having to book tickets through the actual Colosseum, we booked through an app called Viator, which is a TripAdvisor company. We are looking to do a nighttime tour of the Colosseum. One, the weather will be better, less people. And we also want to be able to do the arena floor and the underground tour, just because that sounds really cool. And we don't know if we're ever going to get to go back. So when in Rome, you know? So we booked that first tour through Viator. We found a pretty good deal. Unfortunately, we then got a cancellation notice. So we booked another underground tour through Viator, and 2 days later, another cancellation notice. We were able to find a third. Unfortunately, it was about twice the price, but that one was confirmed immediately. So that's the tour that we're gonna do. And it will be the first night when we arrive in Rome. We'll be doing the nighttime Colosseum tour.
The other major must-do that we had when we were in Rome was to go to the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel. I've always wanted to see the ceiling at the Sistine Chapel and the works of art by Michelangelo, so we put it near, if not the top, to the second at the top of our list while we're there. So we were actually communicating with our friends in Florida about actually doing a tour of the Sistine Chapel and the Vatican together, and we decided to do an evening tour of the Vatican. The problem that we ran into, I don't look at dates or days of the week that often because we work retail and they kind of all blend together. And I knew the date that we wanted to do this, and it turned out to be a Sunday. And as you can imagine, the Vatican is not open on a Sunday. So we actually had to kind of move a few of our things around and the stuff that we wanted to do and move this to the second night that we're actually in Rome. So we're going to do a nighttime tour because of less people being at the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel, and a private tour with us and the other couple. And hopefully it'll be really, really good. We get to go to the Vatican museums, the Sistine Chapel, and St. Peter's Basilica, and I'm really looking forward to it. I cannot wait to look up at the ceiling at the Sistine Chapel and see all that amazing artwork and the creation of man that you've always seen in the textbooks and other art books. So hopefully it's really good. During our other days in Rome, we actually have a bunch of must-dos that we absolutely have to do while we're there. Putting together the plan without having tours of those things, because we're only doing the tour of the Colosseum and the tour of the Vatican, we used a book that we bought off of Amazon.com called Top 10 Rome. This book has a ton of maps, it has itineraries, and it has the best things to do in each section of Rome to make sure that you hit all of the top tourist areas or the things that you have to do while you're there. So we're going to go to Trevi Fountain, the Pantheon, the Roman Forum, and a bunch of other places. And this book allowed us to actually book them or go to them in a specific order that made sense, and use their maps and in between that, what restaurants to go to and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully our days in Rome are really good. And if they are, we can thank the Top 10 Rome book that we got off of Amazon.
When it comes to food, we don't have any set plans yet. There are quite a few restaurants and cafes that are recommended in the Top 10 book. We are gonna maybe go with a couple of those, maybe kind of wing it a little bit. If you've been to Rome, you have any suggestions, please let us know. We're looking for a great pasta place, and I plan on eating a lot of gelato.
On our way home from Rome, we're actually stopping at JFK Airport in New York City. We don't actually get to spend an entire day in New York, so we don't get to go to, the World Trade Center. We don't get to go to Times Square or Broadway or anything like that. But we do have enough time to stay the night. And one of the places that I've always wanted to stay is the TWA Hotel at JFK Airport. I personally am a huge fan of mid-century modern architecture and design. I love the Googie architecture. And when this project was first announced several years ago, I put it on the bucket list of hotels that I would absolutely want to stay at before I die. So we finally get the chance to do that, and we're basically going to land in JFK around 9 p.m.-ish, and then stay the night, and then the next day fly home to Dallas. I'm really looking forward to this. It's a hotel that I've wanted to stay at forever. So obviously this is the first time that we're actually going to Europe, and there was a few things that we needed to buy to make sure this trip went smoothly. So the first thing that we want to talk about is actually getting euros so you could buy things in Rome. So if you didn't know, you can actually go to your local bank to order foreign currency. We have a Chase Sapphire Reserve card, and we were going to use that for most purchases on this trip because there are no foreign transaction fees. But we were worried that on taxi rides or some of the smaller shops or some of the restaurants that didn't take credit card or might not take credit cards, that we would need cash. And of course, you're in Europe, they're not going to take American dollars, so we had to order euros. So we got about 500 euros worth, which has cost us about 580 to 590 US dollars. We went to our local Chase bank. We ordered them on a Tuesday, and they were waiting for us on the next Wednesday. So it doesn't take that long to get. Make sure if you're going to Europe that you pick up some euros to make sure you have enough money for places that might not take your credit card.
You can wait to get euros or any international currency. When you land, a lot of the airports will do an exchange for you as well. But from everything we've read, if you do the exchange here first at your local bank, you are much likely to get a better rate.
All right, now let's talk about some of the other things that we purchased for this trip. Obviously, everything we own has an American plug on it, so we're going to need some sort of converter. So I actually went to Amazon.com and purchased a converter so we can plug in at least two items and two USB items. So we're in the hotel room, and we can even use this on the cruise ship. We actually have enough outlets for all of our electronic devices. One of the other things that we've purchased for our cruises is actually a wireless charging stand. The really cool thing about this is it has a spot for my Apple Watch, my Apple phone, and my AirPods, and it only takes one outlet. We were able to use it on our Navigator of the Seas cruise, and it freed up a lot of the outlets because it only took up one. We were able to charge 3 things on it. We are bringing this to Europe with us as well to make sure that we can charge our devices without taking up too many outlets either in the hotels or on the cruise ship.
One of the other things that we're bringing with us and that we bring with us on all of our cruises is going to be luggage tags. So you always print out your luggage tags before you go on a Royal Caribbean cruise so that you can attach it to your luggage. This makes it easy and it protects that paper tag so you don't have to worry about it ripping off when they're transporting your luggage. The last thing that we purchased for this trip is going to be air tags to put in our checked luggage. We do have quite a few stops on this trip. The first one will be in Newark, and then Oslo, Sweden, and Copenhagen, Denmark. So with that checked luggage, there's a lot of different places where it could maybe get lost. So hopefully this will help us if something were to happen, be able to recover our suitcases a lot quicker.
And the last little bit of preparation that we did for this cruise is regarding our cell phones. We use iPhones and they have an eSIM built into them, and we have AT&T service. Through AT&T, if you didn't know, you can actually get international coverage for when you're abroad. You don't have to actually buy a SIM or change your service to another carrier. You can actually add a day pass per day that you're actually abroad in Europe or Asia or wherever, and it costs about $15 per day for the first phone and about $10 per day for the second phone. So we're going to do that when we're over there. We're only going to use our service for the 2 days at the beginning of the cruise that we're in Rome, the 2 days after our cruise when we're in Rome, and maybe when we're in Santorini or Turkey, that sort of thing. So it's not going to cost us too much money, and it should allow us to check our email or check our text messages and that sort of stuff, or hey, use Google Maps so we don't get lost while we're there. All right, so we're going to Rome and we're going on a Greek Isle cruise. We've been planning this for a little over a year now. A lot has gone into it, and we really hope all of our trip planning is going to make this trip what exactly it should be in our heads, and we'll remember it for a lifetime. If there's anything that we might have missed or any tips that you might have for this trip, if you've taken this type of cruise or been to Rome for a few days, let us know in the comment section below. And as always, please make sure you like and subscribe.